they can't never figure you out. They always keep trying to put you in a box, but you bust out of it because there's many different aspects of you that they don't know because they never took the time to get to know you. They just wanted to use any and everything that you did, who you was about, against you. And you probably did have to surrender that to God out of wisdom and out of a place of serenity. And you could have been stubborn with it. You could have been that could have been something that you held on to a lot. But God had to deliver you from that. And people trying to say that you changed up and you this and that. I don't feel like you changed up. I feel like you still who you are, but the way that you express that, that's what's changed. Because God had to transform you. I want to bring y'all to a scripture that kind of reminds me of this for some of y'all in this situation. And it's going to be, for those of you who know, 1 Samuel 27. 1 Samuel 27. Y'all, for those of you who know, you already know about this chapter. And basically, King Saul was after David. And so David, he escaped into the land of the Philistines. So I'm going to read it. 1 Samuel 27:1. And David said in his heart, I should now perish one day by the hand of Saul. So a lot of y'all could have felt like, man, if I keep going the way that I'm going to perish if I keep going in this direction. Because people could be using your beliefs or using who you are against you. For Saul, it was just he didn't want David to come up. He wanted to be the only one. He got jealous because it was David's time, and he didn't want David to have his time. And so there is nothing be better for me than I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistine. So God probably started showing you like, look, it's nothing better for me than for me to surrender what this is, who I am, and the way I express it to God. So Saul shall despair of me to seek me anymore in the coast of Israel, so I shall escape out of his hand. So these people can stop using what they're doing against me. If I'm no longer there, they're going to have to find me somewhere else. They're going to have to find a different way to attack me. They can't use my belief system against me anymore, to turn all these different people against me because I'm pro-black. This is my story. Now, for y'all, it might be different. Maybe you had a certain education that people didn't like. Maybe you studied a certain area that people didn't like, and you had to, and that was coming up against you so hard that you had to surrender it so that your Saul could stop persecuting you in that way, and he had to find you in a different place. He had to find a different way to persecute you because he couldn't use that against you no more. Whatever it was, your education, your job, who you wanted to date. A lot of y'all, it could be like anything. You probably had to go about it in a more wise way because it was being used against you. Right? Like Saul, he had to flee into his enemy's camp to escape the persecution of, David had to flee into his enemy's camp to escape the persecution of Saul. Now, it doesn't have to be so cut and dry and black and white for a lot of y'all, but that's why I'm trying to make it make sense for y'all, right? So, like I said, and Saul shall despair of me to seek me anymore in any coast of Israel, so shall I escape out of his hand. So you probably have to express what you believed in a different way. You probably have to surrender it to God. So your Saul could stop persecuting you in that way. And David arose, and he passed over with 600 men that were with him unto Achish. That's where he went. The son of Maok, king of Gath. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing these names right, y'all. Bear with me. And David dwelt with Achish at Gath, and he and his man, every man with his household, even David with his 2 wives. And Hinoam and Jerielites, and Abigail and Carmelites, Nabal's wife. And it was told Saul that David fled to Gath, and he sought no more again for him. So for some of y'all, once they realize that you surrendered your battle to God, aka fled into the camp of your enemy, they couldn't come after you like in that way no more. They had to find a different way. And it was mad because of it. So in my case, how I was so gung-ho on the Hebrew Israelite beliefs and being pro-black, I had to surrender that to God, aka went into the camp of the Philistine. And Saul, the people who were trying to persecute me for it, they couldn't use it against me no more. It says it here. And it was told Saul that David fled to Gath, and he sought no more again after him. They couldn't use that. He couldn't come after him for that no more. Because, Saul fled into the camps of the Philistines. What he gonna do? Go over there and try to get him? He couldn't. So he stopped. And like for me, what happened? I had to surrender that. The way I was expressing it, the way I was very, very passionate and very outwardly aggressive, even a little bit about it, I had to surrender that to God. Because people was using it against me. Saul was using it against me. My Saul, the Saul in my life, was using it against me. I had to flee into the land of the Philistines. I had to surrender that up to God. Just keeping it real. Look. And David said to Achish, if I have now found grace in thy eyes, let them give me a place in some town in the country that I may dwell there. For why should thy servant dwell in the royal city with thee? And Achish gave him Ziklag that day. Wherefore Ziklag pertaineth unto the kings of Judah unto this day. If we skip down to verse 8, well, let's read verse 7. In the day that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was a full year and 4 months, 16 months. So it was for some time that David had to be that way. I'm not going to read all of it, but if you continue to read down, you will see that David would be pretending to attack the Israelites, but he wasn't. He was still taking the land of his enemies and bringing it to the king of Achish and acting like he was attacking the Israelites. He had to maneuver in that way. Now, for me, listen, what that means for me is that I had to tone myself down a lot. And I had to transform a lot. Because it was not wise for me to continue the way that I was going because Saul was using it against me. But it also was not wise of me to totally forsake my belief system. Which is why now today I still read from the African Hebrew Israelite Bible. That's how I apply that to me. And that's the way God speaks to me through it. And I feel like it could be like that for a lot of y'all. It's not wise for you to continue down that road you was going down, how you was expressing it, because why? Your Saul was after you and was using that against you. You had to go to the land of the Philistine, to the land of your enemy. And for a lot of y'all, that simply means you have to tone it down. And you have to transform into become somebody else. You had to become somebody else. You had to go to the land of the Philistine. But also, you did not lose touch. And you did not lose sight and forsake your essence, your core. I.e., King David was still, he was in that land, but he was still who he was. He was with the Philistine, but he wasn't attacking his people. He was still believed the way he believed. You see what I'm saying? Even though to King Achish, he wasn't. And I feel like I said before, for me, my Philistine is the way I transform in my belief system, the way I fight spiritual warfare, and the way I've toned down my life a lot. I'm not as gung-ho as I was before I came into the land of Philistine. However, I have not lost what I believe in. I still believe the way I believe. I.e. King David, he still was not going against his people. He still was going against his enemies in that way. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going against my enemies. I don't see myself as having enemies. This is war. This is King David, of course. I'm just a regular Christian woman. Like, I don't see myself as having enemies. What I look at it as, I've had to tone down who I am, but yet still being able to stay true to my beliefs, y'all. That's how I feel. And I feel like a lot of you had to be transformed, had to be molded, and God had to mold you in that way. So don't let people come and tell you that you different, you a sellout, you this, you that. You had to become a certain way. You had to go into the land of the Philistine. I'm a single mom out here with 2 kids. I couldn't operate the way I was steady operating. I wasn't protected doing that. My Saul was after me. But once I got into the land of the Philistines, I also am not going to betray what I believe. I'm still going to stand firm on what I believe, though. I still believe the way I believe. You understand what I'm saying? I feel like it's like that for a lot of y'all. People are upset, and I'm going to say this again, because they cannot attack you the way they once was attacking you, because you went into the land of the Philistines, yet you kept your core belief. And guess what? The story did not end there for King David, just like it don't end for you right there. God is still making you and still molding you into who he wants you to be. God is just adjusting you based on your circumstance. Just like King David had to be adjusted based on his circumstance, it's the same for you. People don't need to be throwing you in a box. They can't. They can't use your certain things, who you were, against you no more, because God keeps adjusting you based on your circumstance. Like he did with King David. Don't mean that King David changed who he was internally, but the way he expressed it outwardly had to be transformed. And as you can see, that happened for 16 months for King David. For some of y'all, it might be longer, but I feel like God is going to get you to a point where you can be open about who you are in a very respectful manner, using wisdom. He will give you a platform where you can express who you are, your true nature, and he's still transforming you. You might have gave up some of your practices, but He's going to put you in a safe place where you can practice how you really feel in a safe place, And guess what? They won't be able to use it against you. You'll be able to practice it, and you'll be able to get respect and love from all people despite who you are. Despite who you are, because that's unconditional love. When people can sit back and say, I seen this woman or this man transform from that to that, they had to adjust based on their circumstances. They still didn't lose who they was and their true essence. And even though they did have to tone it down some, and now look at them. They're in a place where they can express who they are outwardly, but in a wise way, right? Not only that, they have the respect of all people and love of all people. And we know what they believe and we still love her. We know what they believe and we still love him. Because we saw their transition from point A, B, C, D, how they changed, God changed and adjusted them through every season, through every circumstance. And they finally made it to a place where they belonged, such as King David. They finally got there. That's going to be the story for a lot of y'all. God is the potter. You are the clay.